Vive la différence. Nothing pleases a Frenchman more than variety and the personal touch in their food, while keeping it tasting and looking as though it came directly from their native province. Even in these modern times, with the many frozen and convenience foods available to the busy, often working French woman, she would never think of bringing to the table a ready-to-serve prepared dish without first adding her own personal touches, turning the ready-to-serve dish into her very own creation, reflecting her personal taste and the region of France from which she or her husband came. Oh, what infinite versatility these simple, few, personal touches provide. This is true for all foods. Take vegetables, for example. The French boil them, steam them, sauté them, braise them, or glaze them. They will serve them as hors d'oeuvre to accompany a main course or even to follow it on their own, in their own glorious individuality. Let's look at mushrooms, for example. When you go to a French market, you will find side by side a surprising variety of mushrooms. The wonderful seeps of the Bordeaux region, the dark morels or morels, the cup-shaped girolles or chanterelles, with the color of egg yolks, lighter or darker, depending on the humidity, and champignons de couche, or cultivated mushrooms which come from the Ile-de-France, which includes Paris itself. Mushrooms can be stuffed or be stuffing. They can be used as garnish in countless preparations such as blanquette, delicately flavored veal stews, chicken or fish dishes, pork or lamb preparations. Mushrooms can be used in omelets, omelette aux champignons, or in quiche, in salads or in soups, potage, crème de champignons, so forth and so forth. And how about the most elegant, champignons sous cloche, or mushrooms under glace? Now here's the way you prepare that dish. You choose very white, closed caps. The less the gills in the mushroom are showing, the fresher the mushrooms are. You can use a strong wet paper towel to wipe them in order to remove any dirt that may cling to them, as they are grown either wild in black sandy soil in the dark of the forests, in shady woods, or cultured in fields or in cellars. Or you can wash them as quickly as possible under running cold water, then dunk them quickly in acidulated water, that is, water to which you have added about 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. This will keep them from darkening when cut. Then dry the mushrooms carefully with paper towel. If permitted to stand in water, they will become soggy very fast. Do not peel the mushrooms. Slice the stalks at the level of the caps. The stems can then be chopped, a fast, easy method if you should happen to have one of those marvelous new food processors. You can now reserve the chopped stems and use them for flavoring sauces or in a myriad other dishes. Almost anything is better with mushrooms in it. Now, here is the recipe for champignons sous cloche, or mushrooms under glass, should you like to surprise your friends and family with this impressive concoction. You will need 1 pound of medium mushrooms, 1/4 cup butter, room temperature, 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of chopped parsley, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, freshly ground pepper to taste, paprika, about 1 teaspoon or enough to make a pretty pink-colored butter, 4 rounds of white toasted bread, 1/2 a cup of cream, whipping or half and half, and 2 tablespoonsful of sherry. First, prepare some rounds of toast. For this, you can use the very thin, sliced variety of white bread, cut in circles, and placed in a 350-degree oven until dry and lightly brown. Now trim and wash mushrooms as previously described. Dry with a paper towel. Salt and pepper the mushrooms. Cream the butter and add the lemon juice, the parsley, and the paprika, just enough to give the butter mixture a beautiful pink color. Use half of the butter mixture to spread on the toast rounds and place these in 4 individual baking dishes, going into the oven. Spread the remaining butter mixture on the mushroom caps and heap these on the buttered rounds of toast, gills exposed. Pour a little cream over and cover with oven-proof glass domes or inverted Pyrex bowls, fitting the baking dishes perfectly. Place in a 375-degree oven and bake for about 25 minutes. The idea is to have them cook in their own steam and to keep all of their flavor and aroma from escaping. Of course, you could achieve the same effect by using parchment paper, found in some stationery stores and gourmet supply shops, or you could use aluminum foil with the same results. The idea is to seal thoroughly the dish while baking. If the mushrooms become too dry, add a little more cream. Then just before serving, add half a tablespoon of sherry to each dish. Serve piping hot in their original dishes, and voila! This serves 4 as an appetizer or a first course. For a very simple but delicious appetizer using mushrooms, on those days when you are not in the mood for spending your time in the kitchen, here's another recipe. Just wash and dry your mushrooms as per previous recipe using paper towels and remove the stems. Chop the stems and place them on the inverted caps. Sprinkle a few breadcrumbs on each mushroom cap. Add a little chopped parsley, a soupçon, that's a pinch of garlic powder, salt and pepper to taste, and a dab of butter. Place in a 375-degree oven for about 10 minutes and serve piping hot. Make sure you provide plenty of paper napkins for your guests, as these appetizers will be deliciously juicy. Poulet sauté chasseur. Chicken is a very important part of the French diet. These are prepared, as everything else in the way of food, in many varied, imaginative ways, but they always start with a young, plump, well-fed bird. Spring chickens, poulet de grain, weigh from 1.5 pounds to 3.5. Fat hens or roasting chickens weigh from 3.5 to 5.5 pounds. They are called poulard in French. A good poulet has tender flesh, elastic, not flabby. The breastbone gives when it is pressed from side to side. The feet will be black or white, depending on the breed, but they will never be yellow. The skin will be loose and white. French chickens come from many parts of France, but one of the better-known varieties are those from Bresse. King Henry IV of Navarre was a native of Béarn in southern France. He was immensely popular. He wanted his subjects to put a chicken in every pot, every Sunday. He called it la poule au pot. They are still cooking la poule au pot all over France. It is an excellent method of cooking stewing fowl and good value in terms of per-pound cost and taste. This older flesh is rich in flavor, often lacking in less mature chickens. The longer cooking with the vegetables, in lots of water, sometimes stuffed, other times not, softens the bird and produces a delicious chicken as well as a flavorful, rich broth. This broth with vermicelli, a thin pasta whose name is suggestive of its worm-like form, or with rice added to it, makes a delicious soup served by itself. Then the cut-up chicken is served, surrounded by the vegetables it was cooked with, and possibly a sauce may be brought to the table. The sauce should never coat the bird completely. Only a small amount should be poured over it, and the rest should be served separately in an elegant sauce boat. This is true for any chicken dish preparation. Younger chickens or broilers can be roasted or broiled. They are ideal for poulet sauté. The cooking of chicken sauté is done in butter, in oil, or in fat. It must be done rapidly. Once cooked and crisp, the pieces must not be allowed to boil in their juices. However, if the chicken is going to be finished in cream or sauce, it is simmered in butter without having been previously fried. This method is called à blanc, or white. Still another method is called à brun. This calls for browning of the chicken pieces before adding the liquids in which they will cook. Poulet sauté chasseur is one such recipe. You will need 1 frying chicken, 3 tomatoes, about 1 pound. You can use fresh tomatoes or canned ones if the fresh tomatoes are not readily available. 1/4 cup of onions, green onions or shallots. 2 tablespoons full of tarragon. 1/2 pound fresh mushrooms, sliced, or canned mushrooms if you wish. 2 tablespoons of butter. 2 tablespoons of oil. 1 tablespoon of flour. 1/2 cup dry white wine or white vermouth. 1/2 cup beef bouillon or brown stock. 1 small clove of garlic, mashed. Salt, pepper, lemon juice. Proceed as follows. Should your chicken be frozen, defrost it in the slowest possible way, which is in the refrigerator. The French do not find it necessary to wash their chickens, as they feel it destroys flavor. So if you must, do it quickly, under cold running water. Dry the chicken using paper towels. This is especially necessary if you are going to brown it, as it will not brown when damp. To disjoint a chicken in the French manner, leave some of the breast meat attached to the wings. This turns the usually meatless wings into a nice eating piece. So, now, cut your chicken into serving pieces and rub with lemon juice. This will enhance the flavor tremendously. Heat the oil and butter in a sauté pan or skillet. If you wish for the dish to really taste French, you should use peanut oil, as this is what the French use. The reason for the mixture of oil and butter is that the butter would burn before reaching the frying temperature. So, if you mix it with the oil, you achieve the high temperature you need, and you still manage to have the wonderful taste of butter in your dish. Fry the chicken pieces in this butter and oil mixture until golden brown. Then remove to a platter and keep warm. Clean the mushrooms with a damp paper towel, as previously described. Toss in a little lemon juice, slice and sauté in same oil and butter mixture. Add chopped onions, green onions, or shallots. Add peeled tomatoes. To peel tomatoes, you simply drop them in boiling or very hot water for a few seconds and then proceed to remove the skin. An alternate method is to hold the tomato with a long-handled fork with a heat-proof handle over the gas flame for a few seconds. This makes it possible to remove the tomato skin very easily. Some people like to remove the seeds of tomatoes before cooking. Well, I don't find them objectionable. Chop tomatoes before adding. Now, mash your garlic clove with the flat blade of a large chef's knife. The skin will come right off. Then add to the other ingredients. Add half the tarragon, reserving the other half until ready to serve. Salt and pepper, and simmer all these ingredients together for just a few minutes. Now transfer to a casserole large enough to hold the rest of the ingredients. Add the chicken pieces and the cooking liquids. That is, add the dry white wine, which could be omitted and substituted for equal amount of stock. Add the 1/2 cup of beef bouillon, and finally add a tablespoon of flour blended with a little water. Incidentally, the beef stock will give the dish a stronger flavor to justify its hunter-style name. Sometimes a pinch of sugar is very nice to add when using tomatoes, as this will cut somewhat on the sharpness of the tomato taste. When tomatoes are either not ripe enough or simply not in season, it is wiser to use canned tomatoes instead. A good compromise is a mixture of both. That way you get the fresh taste of the tomatoes and the body and moisture of the canned ones. Now your dish is ready to be covered and cooked over low heat for about 25 minutes or until the chicken is tender. Correct the seasonings. It can now wait until you are ready for it. In fact, it will improve in flavor by being made a day ahead. To serve, you could surround with steamed potatoes and sprinkle with the reserved tarragon. You could also serve the potatoes separately. A light red wine served in tulip-shaped stem glasses will make this a most elegant dish. You could serve a chilled white wine, but the tomatoes and the beef stock make the choice of a light red wine more appropriate. It is also good to know that most recipes for chicken dishes are also good for veal. So try this one recipe again using veal instead of chicken. Interesting and fabulous. Omelette d'agneau en papillote. Lamb chops in parchment paper. Lamb is another favorite food in France. It is especially good in springtime. Everyone is aware of the merits of a roast leg of lamb, but what about lamb chops? Well, here is an elegant and easy recipe. First, papillote is a French way of cooking which is used for fish, veal, or lamb. It uses a sheet of paper cut in the shape of a heart, folded in half. The paper is oiled so that the fish or meat doesn't stick to it. The meat or fish is pre-cooked, placed in the folded heart-shaped paper, tightly sealed, and placed in the oven to swell under the action of heat. Aluminum foil or wax paper can be used instead of parchment with the same results. You will need 1/3 pound mushrooms, 2 tablespoons minced shallots or onions, 2 tablespoons oil, 1/4 cup butter or margarine, pinch of thyme, pinch of garlic powder, salt and pepper, 1 tablespoon lemon juice, more or less to taste, 6 lamb chops from the rib, lean, 1 inch thick, 2 tablespoons of liver paste or canned pâté de foie gras, 2 tablespoons fine breadcrumbs, 1 tablespoon parsley chopped, 6 sheets of parchment paper, foil, or wax paper, and a little extra butter. Proceed as follows. Clean mushrooms with a damp paper towel as previously explained. Trim them and chop them fine. Again, a food processor makes short work of all of this. Now heat 2 tablespoons full of butter and the oil in a skillet and saute onions or shallots. Shallots are very popular in France. They look like small brown onions and seem to be a cross between onions and garlic. They're definitely more aromatic and flavorful than onions, and not quite as strong as garlic. You will find them in most markets in small aluminum cups. Now, if you cut them open, they will have a purplish tint. Add mushrooms to the shallots and cook together until all moisture has evaporated. This is called a duxelle. Add salt, pepper, thyme, and garlic. Now add a little lemon juice and stir. Add liver paste or pâté de foie gras, breadcrumbs, and parsley. Trim well the chops. Sauté them in rest of butter or margarine for about 2 or 3 minutes on each side. Cut parchment paper folded in half in the shape of half a heart so that it looks like a heart when opened. Brush with melted butter, place 1 tablespoon of duxelle on half the paper, and then place the chop on top of the duxelle, and again another tablespoonful of duxelle. Fold the paper in half and crimp the edge tightly to keep steam from escaping while cooking. Do the same with the rest of the chops. Now place in a 400-degree preheated oven for about 15 minutes or until nicely puffed. Serve in the papillote. Provide scissors for your guests to slit the papillote open. Eat directly from the paper. Again, you will need plenty of paper napkins, but no one will mind, as the chops will be finger-licking good. No French meal would be complete without mentioning the important role of vegetables. Not only are they often used as an hors d'oeuvre or accompaniment to a dish, but they are always treated not just as mere decoration, but as important in themselves. They are very frequently served as a dish, and great care and attention has been given to their preparation. Here is a great way to prepare peas, and they should always be eaten with a spoon. Petit pois à la française. 1 or 2 tablespoons full of butter, 2 tablespoons of minced onion, 2 leaves of lettuce, shredded. Boston is preferred. 1/2 a cup of stock, 1 package frozen peas, any size, salt and freshly ground pepper to taste. Briefly saute the onion in the butter until just wilted. Place lettuce on the bottom of the pan right over the onion. Add the peas sufficiently thawed to separate. Add stock, salt, and pepper to taste. Cook for 3 to 5 minutes or until tender, covered. Then uncover and boil rapidly to evaporate any remaining liquid. Correct seasonings and serve. These would be just the perfect vegetable to serve with the following chops en papillote. Another great vegetable to serve with the same lamb chops would be broiled tomatoes or tomate farcie. 2 or 3 firm tomatoes cut in half across the middle. 2 tablespoons of breadcrumbs, 2 tablespoons of minced parsley, garlic powder to taste, salt and pepper, a little olive oil, or butter if you prefer, melted for dribbling over the tomatoes. You will need a fireproof dish going into the oven. Now place washed and cut tomatoes in the dish, sprinkle the breadcrumbs, parsley, salt, pepper, and garlic powder over each half of the tomato. Dribble a little oil or melted butter over each tomato and place the dish in a preheated 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes until the tomatoes are cooked but still firm. Do not overcook, or they will collapse and lose their shape. If you wish a browner top, you can place them under the broiler for just about 2 or 3 minutes before serving. You will notice how similar this way of preparing the tomatoes is to the way we prepared the stuffed mushrooms for the hors d'oeuvre. This points to the fact that vegetables in the French manner are served equally well as hors d'oeuvre or at any time throughout the meal. And now to the dessert. French people usually end their meals with 1 or 2 kinds of cheese and a seasonal fruit. They seldom eat cooked or baked desserts except on very special days or in order to celebrate an unusual occasion. Therefore, when they do, dessert is always glamorous and spectacular. One such dessert is a fruit flan called clafoutis, or sometimes spelled clafoutis, with or without a final S. If you use cherries in making this delicious dessert, you do not have to specify the kind of clafoutis it is. Clafoutis as such implies that it is made with cherries and that it comes from the province of Limousin. If other fruit is used, it will be called by the name of the fruit used, such as clafoutis aux pommes, or apples, or clafoutis aux poires, pears. So let us make a clafoutis aux pommes, or apple flan. You will need 3 cups of apples, or about 1 1/4 pounds, of the pipping variety, or any apple firm when cooked. 3 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 cup apple brandy, calvados, or dark rum, 1/3 cup sugar to macerate the apples in, 1/8 of a teaspoonful of cinnamon, 1 1/4 cups of milk, 3 eggs, or 2 egg yolks and 1 whole egg, 1/3 cup sugar for the batter, 2/3 cups flour, 1 tablespoonful of vanilla, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, a little butter for buttering the pie plates, and powdered sugar in a shaker. Start by peeling, coring, that is, removing the seeds, and then slicing the apples about 1/4 of an inch thick. Melt the butter in a skillet and brown the sliced apples lightly. Add the apple brandy, or whatever spirits you decide to use, add the cinnamon and the sugar, and let stand macerating for at least a half an hour. You marinate meat, but you macerate fruit. Drain the liquid from the apples into a measuring cup and add enough milk to make 1 1/4 cups. This means you are substituting some of the milk for the macerate liquid from the apples. Place liquid mixture, 1/3 of a cup sugar, the eggs, the vanilla, and the salt, and the flour in a blender or food processor, using the order the ingredients are given in. Blend for just 1 minute. Now, butter a 7 to 8 cup baking dish or Pyrex pie plate. Pour about 1/4 of an inch layer of batter in baking dish and set over moderate heat on an asbestos pad if necessary. It will be necessary if you use a Pyrex dish, as it will not stand direct heat. This step is taken to set the batter sufficiently so that the fruit does not sink to the bottom of the dish. It makes for a prettier presentation. When batter is set, spread the apples over it. Cover with the rest of the batter and place in a 350-degree oven for about 1 hour. It will be done when a skewer or knife inserted into the center of the dish comes out clean. Sprinkle the top with a little powdered sugar before serving, and serve the clafoutis while still warm. It will come out of the oven quite puffed up and will collapse as it sits. This is quite normal. Bon appetit. The preceding clafoutis dessert is just a simple family custard with apples added to it. It can be prepared in just a few minutes, even though it's important enough to serve to company. But if you really want to impress yourself and your friends, perhaps you would like to attempt that most glamorous and famous of French desserts, a mousse. The term mousse encompasses a variety of very different dishes, mostly served cold or iced, but they can sometimes be served hot as well. Of course, you can have mousses other than for dessert, such as fish or foie gras mousses. But most of us, when saying mousse, well, we immediately think of chocolate. So let us make this marvelous dessert now. Perhaps some other time we might explore the mocha, coffee, or even fruit mousses. This would include all kinds of fruit, such as cherries, peaches, strawberries, pears, plums, and so forth and so forth. For a mousse au chocolat, chocolate mousse, you need only eggs, sugar, cream, butter, chocolate, and, of course, a flavoring of orange juice or liqueur. Serve with extra whipped, sweetened, flavored cream, and decorate with candied violette. Out of this world. You will, however, take a little care on how to proceed, since eggs, cream, and chocolate require careful and gentle handling. Here are the needed ingredients. 1/2 pound semi-sweet chocolate cut into pieces. 4 tablespoons full of strong coffee. 6 egg yolks. 1/2 cup butter, unsalted, at room temperature. 1/2 pint whipping cream. 6 egg whites, stiffly beaten with a pinch of salt and a pinch of cream of tartar. 1/4 cup orange liqueur, rum, cognac, Benedictine, orange juice, or coffee. 3/4 of a cup instant sugar, and a few candied violets. And here's how to put it all together. First, you must decide on how you will serve your mousse, individual molds or beautiful cups or stem glasses or the specially designed pot au crème. Or would you rather serve it unmolded in the shape of a ring with the whipped cream in the center? If you decide to unmold your mousse, you will need an 8-cup mold, and it will have to be lightly oiled with vegetable or tasteless oil. The special pot au crème with their little own lids are particularly attractive for a glamorous ladies' luncheon. And they're just beautiful, and they're so dainty and delicate. Sometimes a large crystal bowl brought to the table decorated with whipped cream and candied violets is very effective too. As for the mousse itself, which is the most important thing, here's what you do. Melt the chocolate in 4 tablespoons full of strong coffee. To make strong coffee, add a little instant coffee to regular coffee, or if you prefer, Make some instant coffee using double strength. Place your coffee and pieces of semi-sweet chocolate in the top of a double boiler. Chocolate burns very easily, so you should avoid placing the pot you use to melt it in over direct heat. If you leave it in the double boiler off the heat, it will melt slowly while you go on with the rest of the recipe. Now, cream the yolks and the sugar together, adding the sugar gradually and beating until it forms the ribbon. This is necessary so that the eggs can be heated without turning granular. Eggs are such delicate things. To form the ribbon simply means beating the eggs and sugar together until the mixture turns pale yellow and thickens enough so that when the beaters are lifted, the egg-sugar mixture falls from them in a continuous sort of ribbon. Now place the bowl with the egg-sugar mixture over a larger bowl containing almost simmering water and beat until foamy, about 4 or 5 minutes. It should feel warm to your finger. This is necessary to remove the raw egg taste from the yolks. The idea is to sort of cook the yolks without making scrambled eggs. Now, to cool them again, place the bowl with the mixture over another larger bowl of cold water. Keep beating for a few minutes until the mixture forms the ribbon again. Flavor with orange liqueur or flavoring of your own choice and set aside. Stir the melted chocolate, and when perfectly smooth, add the butter, 1 tablespoonful at a time, very gradually into the warm chocolate. Add chocolate mixture, still beating, into egg mixture. Now you should beat the 6 egg whites with a pinch of salt and a pinch of cream of tartar. The beaters should be perfectly clean as well as the bowl. Egg whites beat higher at room temperature. They should start beating slowly, and when foamy, increase the speed. The idea is to incorporate as much air as possible into the whites. Fold the beaten egg whites into the chocolate mixture. To fold, you use a motion which brings the chocolate mixture over the beaten egg whites, disturbing them as little as possible until blended. Beat the whipping cream. Beaters and cream should be chilled. In any case, beaters should be perfectly clean. Then add half the whipped cream, again folding it in very gently. Now you have the most scrumptious mousse. Pour it in the mold or container of your choice, bowl, pot of creme, cups, whatever. Refrigerate at least 2 hours or until set, and maybe it's best done 1 day ahead. At serving time, you can pipe the remaining whipped cream in a decorative ring over the mousse and decorate with candied violets. Candied violets can be bought in gourmet shops and sometimes in bakeries. Should you want to unmold the mousse, place the mold in a pan of very hot water for a few seconds. Wipe the outside of the mold to prevent the dripping water. Place a beautiful serving dish over the mousse, and grasping firmly both the plate and the mold together, invert quickly. Shake gently until the mousse unmolds. Sometimes it is necessary to repeat this procedure of dipping the bowl in hot water. If you gently insert a knife in the side of the mousse and release this suction, it will unmold very easily. But be very careful not to damage the mousse when doing so. Decorate the mousse with the remaining cream and serve. Now you are about to enjoy the most heavenly smooth and delicate texture you could possibly imagine.